Hello, everyone. It is me, Tracy Williams, again. So, we just wrapped up our session number two, actually, of loss, grief, and resiliency right here in the Museum of Motherhood. I know the background is kind of different today. So, today, I'm actually in a womb. So we have a womb escape experience here at the Museum of Motherhood. So today I get to rest in a womb. I haven't been in a womb in about 30 plus years. So I must say it is still cozy here. I think many of us have had our own experiences with wombs. Okay, no, but seriously. So we wrapped up a session about loss, grief, and resiliency. That is the name of the series we have been doing. So last month we did a discussion on loss, and I was transparent with you all about the loss of a child and, you know, just everything that comes with losing a child. And as we've shared before, this series is not just for people who have lost children because loss can come in many many shapes and forms. So, we discuss loss of children, we discuss loss of independence, loss of material things. Loss just can hit us really at any point in our lives as well because sometimes you'll think that you're done with losing things and then you find out that there is still room for you to lose. I think a lot of times, the more things we have gained, the more opportunity we have to experience loss, unfortunately. What's the saying when people say things like, oh, he didn't have anything to lose? Like when they say you don't want to argue with people or do business with people who don't have much to lose. Well, that's the tragic thing. It's the more we gain things, the more chance we have to lose things. So if I don't have any money, then I'm not at risk of losing money. But if I have money and I decide to invest it poorly or just hand it out to whomever, I'm at a risk of losing all my money. So I digress. We discussed loss last month, but today we're going to get into the grief that comes with loss. So if you look up grief, it is the emotions that come with loss. It is the reaction you have from experiencing loss. So this can come in a mental form, which a lot of us are familiar with. It can develop into depression, it can develop into anxiety, fear, control. Some of us can become very controlling. It can develop into always trying to manipulate a situation. It also can show up physically. Some of us can get headaches, we can get stomach aches, nausea. You even have some people that break out in rash, they break out in hives at the thought of something that they've experienced. So, today we really got into that. So I encouraged everyone to bring a journal today. Don't ask why I'm holding this mic. I just saw it was in my lap, so I picked it up. Okay. I know I have this one too, but I said, why not feel official and have a mic? I put it down. But anyway, I encouraged everyone to bring a journal today. So I brought mine, and here it is. As we went through these sessions, so first, let's talk about bringing your journal. So, as we go through these sessions, and if you're a journaler and if you're trying to get into journaling, I encourage you to get a journal that you like. Something with big pages, if you know you have big handwriting, something that is truly yours, something that is, you're not afraid to bend. See all that? Something you're not afraid to really get into, something that serves you. And if you're a shy person, I know you may not want this big old journal to carry around everywhere. So if you're more comfortable with something smaller, that's okay too. But I have been journaling since I was a child. So I have reached this big size platinum journal. So get something, and I always say get something that suits your personality, something that makes you, that's something that elicits a certain response when you pick it up. So for me, I like things pretty and pink, and you can tell with this red lighting, but it's a little flashy. Like the gold on here is like a foil. And mine has a Bible scripture on the front. It says, I am with you always, Matthew 28:20. So get something that speaks to your spiritual beliefs as well, something that speaks to you. If there's like a cute saying you wanted to say on the front, I encourage you to do so. So today we pulled out our journals and we wrote down the feelings that we felt. So just, it doesn't have to be neat. So as you can see, mine already has like so much writing, so many ideas. So here's another little tidbit for journaling. It does not have to be strictly journaling. If you have ideas that you want to just write down, it doesn't always have to be like a Dear Diary moment. You can just make your journal your go to book of ideas as well. But I'm trying to find my page. Oh, here it is, my bookmark. So, feelings that you felt during the session. So, I'll share some of the words that came to mind for me when I think about grief. We went back to the moments where we experienced the loss and the feelings that we felt as we went through these tragic losses. So, and of course, it doesn't have to be just one specific moment. So last week I was very specific. I'm sorry, about the loss of a child. So I also have had other moments in life that I consider a loss. So this week, when we really started getting into the emotions of loss, we wrote down words that really are just how we felt about every loss, not just one. And sometimes you may feel that same feeling over and over again. Sometimes you can experience the same type of loss and have a different reaction of grief. So, example, let's say you lose a home, you get evicted, or you go through some sort of foreclosure. Let's say the first time you're in a bit of a shock, you haven't processed it yet. And then let's say a few years later, you get more established and you end up walking through foreclosure, which I'm sure some people have had to experience. Let's say you get divorced, you lose a home, something like that. This time your response isn't, so I haven't processed it yet, or I'm moving slow. This time your response may be a little bit more like aggressive because you have already experienced it once and you don't want to have to walk through that again. So this time you're fighting tooth and nail trying to figure out how not to lose your home, right? Versus the last time you didn't have that much experience with it and you just figured, oh, maybe I'll let things work out. But this time you've become more of a fighter. So I think it's safe to say that sometimes part of loss, grief, and resiliency, that part of that grief can become, you become a fighter in a sense, right? I think that taps more into resiliency, but I don't want to only make grief become about pain and anxiety and feeling stress. I think that there's a certain part of grief that begins to shape us into survivors. Not saying that it is a comfortable experience or one that anybody would choose, but it is a reality. So I'll say, I'll share this. So on my paper, I have a bunch of sad words. I have like abandonment, rejection, left behind, sad. I also put wasted my time. So here's like a little peek at mine. But a word that just came to me was strength, because another transparent moment when my father passed away, I also was scheduled to have a surgery. Now, mind you, this surgery, I had put this surgery off for like a year or so. But once my father passed, I felt, I don't want to say just numb, but I felt like a sense of strength in me had developed because, yes, it was a loss because I lost my father. But at the same time, I had this feeling of if I can survive the loss of my father and that feeling that I felt, that emptiness, that punch to the gut, then this is nothing at this point, right? Yeah, I really, and it wasn't just my dad. I started going down, just losses in my life. I thought about, okay, my dad just passed. I thought about my child before, my rainbow son, my rainbow baby son. I really started thinking about things that have hurt me, and it made me say, okay, well, if X, Y, and Z happened and I survived that, then this should be nothing. So I think that in a sense, sometimes grief can help us build up that defense system as well. You know, when people talk about you're so defensive, you have such a strong defense system up. You don't let anyone in. So I think developing not just thick skin, but maybe a sense of like hardness, which we'll get into next month when we talk about resilience. But you know something, I don't only want to say that hardness is a part of resiliency because you can still be a very soft and person that is has a pretty good amount of emotional intelligence without becoming hard, right? So, this is just a little recap on one of the exercises we did. If you did not get to make it, I'm so sorry, but I encourage you to get yourself a journal, any color, any sort of print, any sort of page size that you want. And I encourage you to begin to write out moments in your life. I encourage you sometimes just to write, just scribble. You can even get crayons or markers, whatever you want. Just become like childlike again. Heal your inner child and jot down some of the feelings you had when you experienced your loss. And don't stop there. We could even turn this, we'll do this for next time. Maybe we can jot down feelings that we had during positive experiences as well, because life is not all about loss and grief. We do have some moments where we gained and we succeeded, right? Right about how you felt accomplished. But I encourage everyone to get in touch with your feelings. I encourage you to actually come out to the Museum of Motherhood and check out these events that we are doing because they are so worth it. You can come hang out with me on this cozy couch. And yeah, and get in touch with yourself. You don't have to face things alone. You can come and meet some of us here. You can come and hang with some of the other participants who are not on camera, by the way, because sometimes people really don't want their personal problems on camera. But I'm getting to the point where it's whatever, it happened, and we can influence others when we share. So until next time, get a journal, jot it down, and I hope to see you all next month here at the Museum of Motherhood in St. Petersburg, Florida for session 3 of our Loss, Grief, and Resiliency series. Have a great day.